Well, everyone, it's a big day for this channel because I'm gonna have to say something that you're probably not ever gonna hear me say on here again. Or not very often. I was wrong. I like to think that I'm generally correct about the things I state here on this channel, but when I make a mistake, I don't beat around the bush. You've probably seen the title of this video, and if you've been here for a while, you'll remember that one of my first video that did well was a video on the Aliens vs. Predator game on the PS3. It got 5,000 views at a time when getting 100 was incomprehensible for this channel, so it holds a special place in my heart. And in that video, I said that the game didn't really strike me as having a whole lot of value or interest in it. It wasn't fully a review. I was just playing through it, and at the end I was like, this didn't really stick with me. I didn't enjoy it that much. Not super impressed. There's some highlights, like me vomiting while playing this, and some lowlights, which is just about everything else being the most generic, bland gaming experience you could possibly imagine. And I got some criticism, people telling me I had no business reviewing the game, and that I was super wrong. I mean, I disagreed, but recently I started a second channel where I play games fully through to the end. It's going to be linked below. And I decided to take another crack at Alien vs. Predator because I thought it was a funny game to make content for. And playing it through all the way, because the first time I played it, I gave the game split up into 3 campaigns: the Alien, the Predator, and the Marine. And I played 30 minutes of each and I dropped it, because that's how I made the videos on this channel before. But going through and playing them all the way, I see now that I was mistaken, and that there is more value to this game, and I want to talk about that. But I also want to say that I wasn't fully wrong. The motivation behind many of my criticisms, I think, still holds a lot of weight. So I'm just going to dive into the 3 campaigns and go over my thoughts on them and show some of the gameplay, and just upload this as a mini, my updated thoughts on the game. So I played the campaigns in order. I started with the Marine, which is just a basic first-person shooter. They're all in first person, and this was the most basic, straightforward campaign out of all the 3 of them. You're just a Marine, you crash on this planet, there's a bunch of xenomorphs, you fight them, you get some different guns, and in that regard, I think it's actually pretty well made. It has a lot of jank and clunkiness, which is one of my main criticisms when I first played it. Shoot the gas canister to proceed. Will do. This has that fucking PS3 jank. You cannot aim steadily at all. And yes, it's just, that's inevitable. It was a PS3 game in like the mid-cycle of the life, when games were still finding their footing. It's hard to aim very precisely, especially since I'm playing on console. But I appreciate that kind of jank. I like the PS3 and the 360 era. It's my favorite era of gaming. So even though it can be a bit frustrating at times, I don't like to criticize it for that too much. The game has a pretty standard loop. You know, you go to a place, you kill a bunch of xenomorphs, you have to like hold the location or get through a door or something. And in that regard, it's not like groundbreaking or anything, but you get a couple different guns. They're fun to use. The best one's the smart gun, because it just locks onto whatever you might want to kill, and you hold down the button and it blasts them away, and it's very fun to use. You just mow down a bunch of xenomorphs, which is satisfying. I like the little attentions to detail. I guess it's not little, but when you kill them, if you walk over their body, you'll take damage from the acid. You can heal yourself with stim packs. My only frustration with it, or not my only, but a frustration I had, is that you only fight one predator in the campaign, and he just pops up out of nowhere. I'd like to see the predator survive a fucking shotty to the face. Oh shit! Oh, he tried to give me a little kiss. Ooh. Damn, I ate serious shit right there. Shoot him! Shoot him! Shoot him! Like, you go to this arena and there's a predator there, and it's like, just shoot him in the face, and you do that, and it's over. And that's the only predator segment in the Marine campaign in the Aliens vs. Predator game. So that's a bit frustrating. Oh! He melted into the ground! Dumbass. I think as like a horror game, it doesn't work at all. There's maybe a couple moments where I was like, oh, a little bit. Oh, shit! Oh, shit! But if you compare it to like games of the time like Fear or Dead Space, it doesn't really capitalize on the horror aspects, but it's fun enough as a shooter. And that's all I have to say about that. I didn't really care for the side characters like Tequila.
You're just in time to put a bullet in my head.
No,
yeah, sure.
Wait.
Oh.
Private.
But that's not why you're playing PS3 horror games. I don't really care for the characters in the Dead Space games either. So, you know what? Fair enough. This was fine. I enjoyed that. I'm glad it exists. You know, I had a decent enough time playing through it. Then after that, you move on to the Predator campaign. And I think on like a graph where I think the Marine is largely like in the middle of the graph. It's pretty stable. I think the Predator's like has the most like dips and rights. Like it's like it has the highest highs and the lowest lows. So it's first person like all the campaigns are. You're playing as the Predator, and in that it can be a little bit clunky. Like again, the entire game is clunky. That's just it's inescapable. It's just how games were at the time. But the Predator has much more at his disposal than just a gun. You know, he has this he can do a big jump into a tree. He has plasma casters. He has all sorts of weapons. And there's an actual hand-to-hand combat system where you block and counter, which is fun. But the jankiness of the era makes this campaign a little bit frustrating to play through. At least it was for me. Maybe I was doing it completely wrong. But I thought the stealth segments kind of left me feeling like I was a bumbling moron. Like I was like Patrick Starr just stumbling through Bikini Bottom.
We're not cavemen! We have technology!
Not like I was this badass skilled assassin. You get to... I felt like I kept getting detected very easily in ways that didn't make a lot of sense. New plan. I'm gonna jump once he passes me by.
Inside 25. Some sort of invisibility.
Like he just saw me. I think the rules of the stealth mechanics were not explained to you at all. Like it took me multiple attempts at using my plasma caster to realize that the laser tracker will give away your position no matter what. So even if someone's like there's two guys walking away from you and you try to lock onto them with your laser cannon, they'll see the laser sight and they'll just both turn around and shoot you even though you're aiming at them from behind. The game never warns you of that. I know that's how it kind of goes in the movies when it locks onto them. They're like, oh shit, the laser, go over there. But it was kind of frustrating there was no way of getting around it because then I just didn't want to use it even though it's such a cool weapon. But I guess I was kind of discouraging you from using it too much because it is like a one-shot kill. But I think the game's really cool as it goes on because you start getting more Predator weapons like I forget what that disc is called, but you can throw it and you control it by looking around and it'll shred everything apart. I thought that was very cool. I like the hand-to-hand combat. I really liked when you got the combi stick, which is just like a fucking giant one-shot kill javelin. You fucking pin people to the wall like 300 Leonidas, just chucking that thing across a map. So it starts out very janky and clunky and a bit confusing, but I think it gets very enjoyable as it goes on. And at the end of the game, you fight the Predalien from the second Predator vs. Alien movie, which is a xenomorph that busts out of a predator. And you have a boss fight in a volcano, so it's kind of like Resident Evil 5. I thought that was a cool boss fight where you have like unlimited energy and ammo and you're just allowed to do whatever you can to take it down. That was fun. I liked that. Overall, good campaign. I like the stealth kills. We like rip people's spines out and stuff. And you fight the humans and the xenomorphs. So, spoiler, I guess, it's the only campaign that feels connected, that feels like it capitalizes on the Alien vs. Predator concept. Because if you go into the xenomorph, which is the next one to talk about, you encounter, like the human campaign, you only encounter a couple predators at the end. It's in the same arena you fought them in the human campaign. It's like there's 2 predators there, and you just fight them with some other xenomorphs, and you kill them. And it's like, well, it kind of feels like they get crammed into those other 2 campaigns just because they're like, oh shit, we're at the end of the game, and this is a Predator versus Alien game, so we need predators in there. There's very little Predator versus Alien in the Alien campaign. The Predator campaign has a bunch of it. So I think if you want to capitalize on the namesake, that's the best route to go for it. The Alien was very fun. I think my big issue with that when I first played it was it actually made me motion sick. I remember that being a complaint when it came out.
Boy, yeah, this actually is kind of making me feel a little bit sick, I can't lie. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I think the only interesting thing I've had to say about this game this entire time is that it kind of makes it feel sick.
And I wasn't doing it for a bit. Like, I actually, by the time I got to the Alien campaign, I was fucking blowing chunks in my fucking old bedroom in my apartment. And that wasn't fun. But this time, I blasted the whole thing. Same monitor, same played on my PS3. It didn't make me sick at all this time. So, I guess maybe I was just having an off day. I couldn't tell you. But I enjoyed it much more this time. It is a little, like, dizzying. Not dizzying, confusing. Because as the Alien, you can just jump to ceilings and walls. And it has like this little arrow thing that points where the ground is to help you lock on. But when you're moving very fast paced, like I'm too distracted to be like, wait, where's that arrow pointing? To think about that. So, but I didn't get sick with it. I enjoyed it. I liked the freedom to be able to leap onto walls and ceilings whenever you feel like it and run around. This is the shortest out of the 3 campaigns, though. And even though I think the mechanics of the Alien are really cool, I think this is the weakest one because the entire campaign, every level is like, here's a big room with 5 people in it who walk around on a very predictable path in a circle. Just drop down and press square behind them. Like, it's stealth, but it was very low effort. I was just not challenged at all. There were a couple times where I was trying to mess around. I have that happen in stealth games. I grew up playing Splinter Cell, and I played Metal Gear Solid a lot in high school. So I like stealth games, and I like to mess around when I feel like they're not challenging me at the moment. But the Alien campaign, I think, was definitely the weakest one. Because it's all stealth. If you get spotted as the Alien, you're kind of cooked. Where the Predator at least has some options. He has some big guns. The Alien can just scratch people, so it's not the most effective. I think the first level where you break out of your containment is really cool. I like the idea that you're this super smart xenomorph that was experimented on. I wish they had done more with the stories for all 3 of these, actually, because I think that the Alien campaign is a really interesting start, that you see this xenomorph first exploding out of someone's chest, and it's the tiny one, and you see it grow up to a full-size xenomorph, and Carl Wayland is watching it and looking over it, and it gets like branded with the 6 in the front of its skull thing. So it makes it feel kind of special, but you never have any, like, I didn't understand what the story was. It was just like the story of like the Alien campaign. I know aliens aren't like super sentient, they don't communicate a lot, but like it was just like the alien queen's face would pop into the corner and it would be like, objective, go fucking murder that guy in a corner there. So I felt they could have done more. Like, that game came out like a year or 2 ago, Stray, and that's about a fucking cat, and I got the story of that, you know? I think it's possible to make a narrative and a story out of a non-verbal, even non-human protagonist, even out of an animal. Even if you had seen, I think it would have been cool to tie the story in more with the humans that were experimenting on 6 and have it go back and fight them and have kind of a confrontation, because it is implied that this xenomorph is more sentient than the other ones, and in that sense it would have been cool to see it going after the people that experimented on it and trying to get revenge on Wayland, because even in its primitive state it understands like the concept of revenge. Maybe the alien queen gets killed. I don't know. Just throwing ideas out there. If they ever make another one, which I really think they should. That was my big takeaway from this, is I think it would be sick if they made a new one, or if they even remade this. I don't think that's impossible. We've gotten a couple Aliens games on PS5. We have Fireteam Elite and Dark Descent, and Predator Hunting Ground came out a few years ago, and it didn't do super well, but they're still making games for them. And I feel like 80s movies are getting adaptations recently, the RoboCop game, the Terminator game. So I think it's possible. I think they should do it. I would like it. This game seems to have some kind of community behind it, because when I made my video, I was like, oh, this is a dead PS3 game that no one cares about from 15 years ago. And I was wrong. People do care. They definitely do care. So that was my bad. Other reason I want this to come back is that all everyone tells me is that the multiplayer was like the greatest thing ever. And it's kind of making me want to buy it on PC just so I can play the multiplayer. Because from what I understand, it's 1v1v1 where you play as the Predator, the Xenomorph, and the humans, and you get to fight each other, and it's asymmetrical. It made me think of in Splinter Cell Spies vs. Mercs, where you have two very different classes that are equally powerful, but you have to play them in very different ways. I think that's going to clear up my thoughts on this. I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong and I make a mistake, and I won't be making many mistakes going forward. I haven't made many overall in general. I think this might be the only mistake I've made on this channel. I think I stand by everything else I've ever done. But I thought it would be fun to just talk about this and say that I enjoyed making these. I enjoyed playing these games and uploading these videos. If you want to watch me play through all three of the campaigns, I did them as 3 separate videos. Those will be linked down in the description in the channel. But that's going to be it for now. My apologies to the Alien vs. Predator community. I didn't know you had a game like that. My apologies. I enjoyed it as well. So, sorry about that. Goodbye.